Good afternoon. Please kindly take your seats. The show will begin shortly. Please kindly take your seats. The show will begin shortly. Please kindly take your seats. The show is about to start. Please kindly take your seats. The show is about to start. Please take your seats. The show is about to start. Please take your seats. The show is about to start. May everyone take their seats, please. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And good afternoon, and welcome to the 2023 Reaching the Last Mile Forum. My name is Nofel Kithiri, and I'm very honored and pleased to be your host for today. The Reaching the Last Mile Forum is held under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, and in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This year, we are also gathering at COP28 on the first health day in the summit's history. Climate change and global health are inextricably linked, and we cannot improve one without solving the other. Over the next 90 minutes, you will be witness to transformative new partnerships and pledges designed to do just that, to help accelerate progress towards global health goals and a stronger and safer world. will be revealing the recipients of the much anticipated REACH Awards, which recognize and celebrate the incredible contributions of those on the front lines of climate and health challenges. Neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs as you'll hear them referred to today, are just one of those frontline health challenges. These 20 conditions flourish in impoverished communities, causing painful disabilities, disfigurement, and even death. They keep adults out of work, children out of school, contributing to further cycles of poverty. Yet, they are largely preventable and treatable. It takes the commitment of an entire global community to eliminate NTDs. And under the leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE is proud to call itself part of that community. I would like now to welcome poets Alhan Islam and Dr. Afra Atij for a powerful performance that pays tribute to the progress made against NTDs and the opportunity that lays ahead of us.
To the threats that linger beneath the surface, weaving a different narrative. Each giggle tells a story of resilience and vulnerability. The soil they play in becomes a breeding ground for unseen adversaries, and contaminated water sources harbor the potential for future struggles.
What our forefathers said, 4 months and 10 days pearl diving at sea, conversations across constellations for a journey, with a map full of stars. من نجم سهيل إلى بنات النعش. This is who we are. Descendants of pearl divers and Bedouins, charting stars across waters and desert skies. We planted seeds in the desert and watched them bloom. A future rising across time and space. Because the impossibility of distance is not ever a barrier to a dream. And we are all parts of the same beating heart, held together with a hope beyond the difficulties and challenges that lay before us. And we know hope. We know hope is not something we choose. It is the legacy we inherited yesterday, honor today, and carry tomorrow. وعلى هذه الأرض. وعلى هذه الأرض. We continue the journey of a legacy to make miracles out of the circumstances we find ourselves in. من هالنجم إلى هالنجم. I know we will get there, weaving together what is with what we know can be through threads of khair. We know that the true measure of who we are is not how much we hold in our hands, but how much we are willing to give and how far we extend our hands to those outside of ourselves. We live like Zayed taught us how, under a horizon of everlasting hope, like our forefathers before us, from this star to that star. من هالنجم إلى هالنجم. I know we will get there.
But in the shrouded realm behind the curtain, A whispered folklore unfurls, a tender dance spun by benevolent health keepers, intricately shaping the destiny of well-being with hands woven together, unearthing the power to mend, to cultivate pulses. For try as we may, it takes a special kind of superpower to birth a life from the brink of oblivion. And so here within these walls, let's declare continuity and commitment as allies. And while we deliberate on building the things that will outlive us, let us not neglect the things that will help us live. And let the last mile become the first step towards a future uncertain but full of promise.
نمشي على خطى زايد في درب تنير نجوم أمجاده لنجعل الميل الأخير خطوتنا الأولى، ومع بعض بنوصل من هالنجم إلى هالنجم.
Thank you, Afra and Elhan Islam, for your powerful performance. And now, can I invite all our donors to the stage for a photo to celebrate the achievement? Can I now invite Your Highnesses and Your Excellencies and Bill Gates to the stage? And now, it is my honor to introduce our first speaker for today, the UAE Minister of State for International Cooperation. Please welcome Her Excellency Reem Ibrahim Al-Hashmi.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good afternoon, everybody. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. This occasion marks a historic show of solidarity in the global effort to end neglected tropical diseases, which affect more than 1.6 billion of the world's poorest people. With endemic countries leading the way, tremendous progress has been made towards ending the suffering caused by NTDs. As of this year, 50 countries have eliminated at least one NTD. However, as climate change impacts infectious disease patterns, spurs population migration, and threatens already fragile health systems, all this hard work, hard-won gains, are actually now at risk. My country has been a dedicated and committed partner in the global effort to end NTDs and other preventable diseases since 1990, when our nation's founder, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, partnered with former US President Jimmy Carter on a campaign to end guinea worm disease, which was causing devastation in communities across the African continent. And today, the UAE is proud to host country governments, philanthropists, and NGO partners to announce significant new commitments towards the WHO's 2030 roadmap for NTDs. A cornerstone of this momentous pledge is the expansion of the Reaching the Last Mile Fund. That fund was launched in 2017 by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, our president. The RLM fund has developed a successful model for the elimination of 2 NTDs and has supported the government of Niger to become the first country in Africa to end river blindness. I'm pleased today to announce that as a founding partner of Reaching the Last Mile Fund, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the President of the United Arab Emirates, will commit $100 million to the expansion of the fund to reach all 39 countries in Africa that are endemic to river blindness and lymphatic filariasis, as well as the nation of Yemen. This commitment represents an ambitious vision for an Africa free from the burden of these preventable diseases and a historic opportunity to unlock the potential of millions across the continent. We thank our country partners who are leading the way on NTDs, and we extend our deepest gratitude to the philanthropists, the NGO partners, the healthcare workers, as well as donor country partners who have joined us to make this commitment a reality. Thank you all very much for your time and attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your word. Next, to join us is the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and a long-standing friend of Reaching the Last Mile. Please welcome Bill Gates.
Well, hello. It's fantastic to be here at COP28 and the Reaching the Last Mile Forum. I'm encouraged that we're talking about the ways climate change affects health and sharing ideas about how to help people thrive even in a somewhat warmer world. Let me first thank His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and the people of the United Arab Emirates for hosting us. You've done a fantastic job. And for the partnership we've had on global health over many years. I'm very grateful for your commitment to polio eradication and the Islamic Development Bank's support to end polio in Pakistan. We stand beside you proudly in this effort. It was great to hear the story of how Sheikh Zayed and President Jimmy Carter started this all off. There's always a question in an event like this, how much we show the suffering from these diseases. And because we're all committing more money, we spared you having to look at the gruesome effects. But I think it's always valuable to go out in the field and rededicate ourselves to this being a form of unnecessary suffering that we really should commit whatever we can to bring to an end. 50 years ago, the people of Niger made their first attempt to fight onchocerciasis. Although the disease is also called river blindness, it doesn't just affect your vision. It causes awful lesions that can get severely infected. At one point, half of all West Africans were at risk of contracting oncho. Early on, researchers in Niger set out to collect black flies to identify how oncho was being spread. People used larvicide, including from helicopters, and some people had to abandon their land simply to get away from this awful disease, even when it was fertile and desirable in other ways. But in 1987, this difficult story took a turn for the better. Merck saw that its pill, ivermectin, could prevent oncho and donated enough to give entire populations this drug over decades. It was a challenge to get out to even the most remote areas and to do the fly catching to reduce the spread. But in 2023, Niger achieved a remarkable milestone, becoming the very first African country to eliminate transmission of the disease. Of course, the UAE played a pivotal role in this success by launching the Reaching the Last Mile Fund to eliminate oncho and other awful diseases, including lymphatic filariasis, or LF. Our foundation has been honored to support this work since 2017, along with CIF, Helmsley Trust, ELMA, the End Fund, and other partners. Since the world came together in 2012 with the London Declaration to prioritize the end of NTDs, 50 countries have eliminated at least one NTD, and 600 million people are no longer requiring treatment because they're at risk of these diseases. And now we come here today to dedicate ourselves to finishing the job. These diseases are preventable. But if we take off the pressure, if we stop giving out the drugs, the burden will grow. That's especially true as climate change brings more extreme weather, which helps the vectors that spread the disease thrive for longer and in places they were not present before. That said, the commitment and funding will eliminate the threat of NTDs and save millions of lives. Our models show that the increased coverage of treatments will have a dramatic impact over the next decade. This is one of the best buys in human health. To that end, I'm pleased to announce that the Gates Foundation is matching the $100 million commitment made by His Highness to the Reaching the Last Mile Fund. It's a clear statement about our sense of urgency and optimism for success. This fund will total over $500 million, with the Carter Center and other donors joining in, including African countries. With their generosity, the Reaching the Last Mile Fund will be able to expand its reach from 7 to 39 countries across Africa and in Yemen. Our foundation has also renewed our commitment to partner with the government of Belgium to eliminate sleeping sickness in the DRC by 2030. I'm confident we'll be able to eliminate these diseases for several reasons. First, because of the progress we've seen from the RLM Fund already. Niger is just one example. Senegal will also eliminate onco, and 3 African countries are close to eliminating LF. My second reason for optimism is that we have advances in surveillance and supply chain efficiency. Those have been 2 very tough things, but we have breakthroughs in how to do those. Third, I'm optimistic because of the continued commitment of the pharmaceutical companies to produce and donate the drugs that we use to prevent and treat these diseases. So now is the time to double down on these efforts. And I'm confident that we can rid the world of these debilitating diseases. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell, for your word. Our next speaker is the President of the United Republic of Tanzania, Her Excellency Samia Suluhu Hassan.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I commend the organizers of this Reaching the Last Mile Forum as we launch the Africa Free of River Blindness and Lymphatic Filariasis. I also wish to recognize His Highness, the President of the UAE, and the co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their generosity and support, and the leadership of uniting to combat neglecting tropical diseases for their advocacy work. Your Excellencies, NTD still pose a significant public health challenge in Tanzania. 20 years ago, lymphatic filariasis afflicted Tanzania across 119 out of 184 districts, with 35 million individuals at risk. Similarly, river blindness was endemic in 30 districts, putting around 7 million people at risk. The government, with the support from the development partners, including USAID, and FCDO, undertook effective integrated efforts for the control and elimination of NTDs. These efforts have had positive results. Tanzania is now having a robust integrated NTD control program in Africa. Presently, only 7 out of initial 119 districts require mass administration of medicines for filariasis, with only 6 million people now at risk. We are on the path to eliminate lymphatic filariasis. On the other hand, prevalence to river blindness has declined. We have a reduction of 85% hotspots in those marked districts. And this is promising trajectory toward the elimination of river blindness as well. Your Excellencies, there is still work to be done. The elimination of NTDs demands substantial and sustainable investments. We still face constraints for cost-effective public health interventions for NTDs. In 2021, Tanzania unveiled a 5-year strategic master plan for NTDs control program 2021-2026. Collaborating with donors and partners, we have committed $262 million of the required $306 million. Yet we face significant deficits in critical areas such as morbidity management, monitoring and surveillance, and vector control interventions. We welcome, therefore, the support from partners who are here to mitigate the gaps we have. To sustain the gains achieved, Tanzania developed a sustainability plan for NTDs. We committed to integrate NTD services into our health systems, linking with other interventions within and beyond primary care and addressing critical financing gaps. As a signatory to the 2022 Kigali Declaration on NTDs, my government commits to continue allocating funds from domestic and other sources to achieve the elimination of NTDs with target of at least 60% domestic funding. And here, I too would like to pledge an amount of $3 million for 5 years. Excellencies, together we can achieve the historic goal of eliminating NTDs and achieve a healthier, happier future for our people. Thank you very much.
And now, I would like to welcome His Excellency Sheikh Shakhbout bin Nahyan Al Nahyan, Minister of State, to the stage to provide his remarks.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, dear colleagues and friends, in the last week, we've witnessed unprecedented floods in the Horn of Africa and record temperatures in Brazil, impacting the health and well-being of local communities among the world. Almost every week this year, there seems to be a record of temperature breached, a once-in-a-century storm or a disease outbreak that requires an immediate response. As we convene during reaching the last mile under the commitment of my senior leadership, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, we are acutely aware that this reflects the new normal. But certainly, it is a reality we must work collectively to reverse. At the same time, we have seen phenomenal progress on global health challenges since the turn of the century, a testament to what we can achieve together when we prioritize partnership and innovation. Africa was declared wild polio-free in 2020, and the world is now on the verge of eradication, with only 2 countries remaining endemic to this virus. And child mortality have been cut off in half. Maternal mortality has been cut off by a third as well. The UAE has been and continues to be a country that champions health for all and prioritizes health as a prerequisite for prosperity. Since the UAE's founding 52 years ago, my country, under the leadership of the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, invested in robust, resilient health systems that have been able to meet urgent challenges. This investment has extended beyond the UAE's borders to continue and communities that need it most, because infectious diseases and health crises like climate change know no borders. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates, through Reaching the Last Mile initiative, more specifically is working to eliminate preventable diseases that affect the most vulnerable communities around the world, which continue to face the highest burden of disease and the greatest threats from climate change. Through this work, Reaching the Last Mile is uplifting communities and unlocking the potential of millions across Africa and Asia. But we cannot underestimate the impact that climate change will have on this work. It is becoming increasingly clear that the climate crisis, combined with other interlinked challenges such as forced migration, spiking food prices, disease outbreaks, and polluted water sources, are putting lives and livelihoods on the line. Already, today, 70 million people die every year from air pollution. Changing weather patterns are leading to storms of greater intensity, which alongside conflict and security are driving record numbers of cholera outbreaks. Aided by hotter weather and changing rainfall patterns, mosquitoes are on the move and carrying diseases like dengue, malaria, Zika, to places that have never experienced such outbreaks. So what should be done? First, it is important to recognize that as climate and health are so interlinked, we need a comprehensive approach to tackling them. The spotlight at COP28 is taking today on health and climate must be the start of a broader movement that involves governments, industry, and civil society. As you will likely hear in the next session, investing in innovation is also critical to tackling climate emergencies. Identifying new solutions to climate-induced health challenges and making sure we protect those at greater risk. And finally, we need to unlock more innovative and collaborative financing. At present, the health sector receives less than 1% of all global climate financing. And I am pleased to stand here with you today and commit that my country will continue to play its part in promoting a comprehensive approach to development that tackles the interconnected climate and health emergencies. The UAE has been taken a bold step to center health in climate agenda and will continue to work with country governments, donors, and international partners to deliver on the world's most pressing climate-related challenges. We look forward to further collaborating with you all, and I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your word. And now, please join me in welcoming our next speaker, the Minister of Health for Sierra Leone, His Excellency, Dr. Austin Dembe.
Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, colleague ministers, ladies and gentlemen. My president, retired Brigadier Dr. Julius Mada Bio, unfortunately could not be here today, but he expressed his unfounded support for this effort here, and to let you know that he is here in spirit. I will therefore read his speech verbatim. As President of Sierra Leone, I stand firm in my commitment to eradicate neglected tropical diseases and transform the lives of our citizens. In Sierra Leone, over 7 million people urgently require interventions against neglected tropical diseases, perpetuating cycles of poverty and costing our nations billions annually. These diseases disproportionately affect women and girls, leading to adverse outcomes, particularly for women of reproductive ages. Recognizing that the transformative power of eliminating neglected tropical diseases, we're dedicated to breaking the cycle of suffering and fostering positive societal change. This commitment aims to keep children in school, empower adults to secure decent livelihoods, and promote gender equity. Sierra Leone has made significant progress in reducing the number of people needing treatment for neglected tropical diseases. For instance, millions of individuals no longer require treatment for lymphatic filariasis. Drawing inspiration from the success of 50 countries globally, including 21 in Africa that have eliminated at least one NTD, Sierra Leone is actively working to join these ranks. Today, I pledge my unwavering support as the President of Sierra Leone to end neglected tropical diseases. To realize this commitment, I allocate $500,000 for neglected tropical diseases over 5 years. Let us unite, take decisive action, and collectively eliminate neglected tropical diseases, ushering in a healthier and more prosperous future for our nations. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Today is the result of a global community that has a shared vision and the will to achieve it. We will continue to welcome partners to the stage to announce their pledges, while additional new commitments are also going to be shared on the screens. Representing the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, Sir Christopher Hone.
Good afternoon. And thank you for all those who have made pledges today. Some years ago, I went to Africa and saw the effect that NTDs can have on ordinary people. I saw people going blind or about to go blind permanently because of diseases that were completely preventable for very low cost. And I decided there and then that I would fight to the rest of my life to help this cause. In a world of such abundance that we have, it's completely immoral for poor people in poor countries to suffer in agony, go blind for such simple, preventable diseases that can be treated for a few cents in many cases. Bill Gates, as he often is completely right that this is one of the best investments any person interested in global health can make. I reached the same conclusion, and that's why I gave already $10 million to the Last Mile Fund some years ago, and SIF is investing more than $160 million in neglected tropical diseases. I'm very proud to announce today that CIF will commit a further $50 million to the Reaching the Last Mile Fund. And we'll keep investing until the job is done. But we do need others here to join us. As you've heard, we need to reach $500 million to eliminate onco and lymphatic filariasis across Africa, and we don't have all the money yet. And so I really urge those who are here today to come and help us. We need the help. We're not meant to let these poor people suffer. If it was us, we wouldn't hesitate or any of our family members to assist. So, you know, I don't need to repeat anything that's already been said. This is a fantastic thing to do. It works. It's the effect on people's lives is life-changing, life-saving. You know, the drugs, as Bill explained, are donated by pharmaceutical companies for free. And the amazing thing is, we can permanently eliminate these diseases. Yep. So you don't have to keep funding year after year. It can end transmission. And that's one reason I have committed to the Last Mile Fund, because they, especially in the case of onco and lymphatic filariasis, permanent elimination is really not just possible, but guaranteed. And so how can we not do this? It's really a fantastic thing. And so please, all of you here who have wealth and money, I ask you to join us and help these people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Hon. And as you said, it takes a whole community to eliminate NTDs. From the Carter Center, Paige Alexander.
Thank you. Guided by the vision of former US President Jimmy Carter and First Lady Rosalind Carter, and inspired by the healthcare workers, frontline workers in the field over the last 40 years, the Carter Center has worked on neglected tropical diseases and primarily at the end of the road in the most vulnerable places for 40 years. We are a recognized leader in neglected tropical diseases, eradication, elimination, and control, and the leader in guinea worm eradication and neglected tropical diseases in 12 different countries. So I'm proud today to highlight the commitment, the two financial commitments from the Carter Center. The first is the Carter Center is thrilled to join forces with our government counterpart, the UAE, with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, with the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, and many other donors to pledge $50 million towards the expansion of the Reaching the Last Mile initiative, so we can cover the full continent of Africa for river blindness and lymphatic filariasis, as well as Yemen. The Carter Center has been steadfast in its technical and financial commitment to guinea worm eradication, and so far this year, we have only 7 human cases left, down from 21 countries where we had 3.5 million cases a year when we started in 1986. So our commitment to guinea worm is also amplified by an additional $10 million challenge grant for guinea worm eradication. We will match dollar for dollar up to $30 million, the amounts of money that come in for the assistance with guinea worm eradication. So we welcome pledges. We welcome pledges and working with our other donors and implementers. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige Alexander, for your word. And now, representing Germany, Dirk Meyer.
Highnesses, Excellencies, friends, dear ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers for putting neglected tropical diseases on the agenda of this year's COP. Rising temperatures are an omnipresent threat for achieving the goals of the WHO NTD roadmap. We urgently need to intensify our efforts. I'm glad to announce that the German government will establish the Health Product Access Fund Program, in short, Access Program, with a funding of 20 million euro to be implemented by KfW Development Bank. This program will support product development partnerships with the aim to ensure access to new, effective, and safe health products against neglected tropical diseases, which, as we all know, affect poor, hard-to-reach, and marginalized populations. In a first phase, the German government supports the Drugs for Neglected Diseases initiative to improve access to new medications against visceral leishmaniasis, Chagas, sleeping sickness, and river blindness in East Africa, India, and South America. This will complement the long-term funding to research and development provided by DNDi by the German government. Ladies and gentlemen, Germany takes its commitment to the Kigali Declaration very serious. We would like to encourage everybody to work together so the goals of the WHO roadmap on NTDs become a reality for all people by 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your word. And now, representing Sightsavers, Dr. Caroline Harper.
A few years ago, the much-missed scientist, Professor Stephen Hawking, spoke at a Sightsavers event. It was in honor of his father, Frank Hawking, who did a lot of work in LF. And he said, the last mile of a journey is always the most difficult, and we cannot be sure that our current resources will be sufficient. He was absolutely inspirational, but so too are the ministries and the communities in endemic countries. So inspired by all of them, I am absolutely delighted to commit today a further $60 million. And that will go to trachoma, to schisto, and to onco and LF. And I am so excited that Sightsavers will now be partnering with the extended Reaching the Last Mile Fund. And together, we will work to eliminate onco and LF across Africa. Now, it's an ambitious task, but I'd like to quote an Ethiopian saying, when spiders unite, they can tie up a lion. So may we spiders be victorious. Thank you.
So spiders, may we unite. And now, representing Belgium, His Excellency Luke Jacobs.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having Belgium at this prestigious and very meaningful forum. We see it as a recognition indeed of the substantial contribution that my country is giving to the cause, to the fight against NTDs. And indeed, we do not keep the excellence in medical science to ourselves. We share it with others. Last month of October, we renewed our partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. This is a 5-year partnership that is being prolonged by another 5 years, a successful partnership, I would say, that is focusing on strengthening healthcare systems, on improving access to healthcare for the most needy people, and of course, to fight NTDs, and more in particular, as Mr. Gates, you already mentioned, the fight against sleeping sickness in the Democratic Republic of Congo. All this in a successful partnership with a world-renowned Institute for Tropical Medicine in Antwerp, with our development agency, Enable, as implementing agency, and of course with our very competent and committed local partners. All this, of course, comes with the necessary financial and in-kind contributions that we will continue to give. And just to give you an idea on that, the overall budgetary envelope that Belgium is committing to the fight against NTDs in the current years running up to 2026 is nearly 30 million euros. So thanks a lot for your attention and glad to be with you.
Your Excellency Luke Jacobs, thank you very much. From the Helmsley Charitable Trust, Walter Panzier.
Your Highness, Excellencies, Ministers, and distinguished guests, good afternoon. I am honored to represent the Helmsley Charitable Trust. Today, we proudly announce a $4.1 million contribution in collaboration with the END Fund, dedicating to eliminate river blindness and LF in Africa. This adds to our recent previous investment of $22.5 million in the Reaching the Last Mile Fund. We are also allocating $2.2 million to support Sightsavers' mission to prevent avoidable blindness in part of our vulnerable children's in sub-Saharan African program. United with fellow investors, we envision an Africa free of these diseases. As we gather during the 28th Annual United Nations Climate Change Conference, let's strive together a future where no child potential is diminished by any type of preventable disease. The Helmsley Charitable Trust is proud to contribute to this collective journey. Thank you all for your commitment to the future.
Thank you, Mr. Panzier. And now, from USAID, Dr. David Walton.
Your Highness, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, it is a pleasure to be here and an honor to celebrate this incredible collaboration to support countries in their efforts to end NTDs. As mentioned by a previous speaker, this partnership honors President Jimmy Carter and the late First Lady Rosalind Carter and their legacy. Their commitment to health equity paved the way for the U.S. to strategically invest to end NTDs. Since 2006, the U.S. has invested more than $1.4 billion to help eliminate NTDs. USAID's annual appropriation from Congress towards NTDs this year is $114.5 million, part of which will support efforts to eliminate river blindness and lymphatic filariasis in 16 African countries and to invest in making river blindness treatment possible where co-endemic diseases make it difficult to treat. While funding alone will not end NTDs, the impact of these investments announced today will certainly surpass mere figures. It will alleviate suffering, empower communities, and foster sustainable progress. And while in much of this COP we are discussing really difficult issues around health and climate, today, and these pledges today mark an incredible milestone in our effort to end NTDs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. David Walton. And now, from Global Health EDCTP 3, Dr. Lydia Boudaghen.
Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is undeniable. Climate change is and will keep having significant negative impacts on NTD's burden. This is why we must urgently together lead an integrated and cross-disease evidence generation and implement synergistic actions to tackle NTDs in line with the WHO 2030 roadmap. Global Health EDCTP3 has always been engaged in the fight against NTDs, and we are delighted to confirm our commitment for 2024 with an additional investment of 22 million euros to support projects tackling NTDs in sub-Saharan Africa. This brings our total investment to over 46 million euros since the Kigali Summit of 2022. We truly look forward to urgently pursuing our joint efforts to prevent, control, eliminate, and eradicate NTDs. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Once more, thank you, Dr. Lydia Boudaghen, for your word. And now, representing the End Fund and Delta Philanthropies, Titsi Masewa.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests. Today, the End Fund proudly joins other pledgers in reaffirming our unwavering dedication to eliminating NTDs across Africa. We can announce that $50 million has been committed from 3 key sources. Number one, $23 million from investors such as Elmer Philanthropies, Legatum, Paul Marshall, End Fund Board Chair Emeritus Bill Campbell, and the Campbell Family Foundation, earmarked to expand the Reaching the Last Mile Fund. Secondly, $5 million personally pledged by my family and I through Delta Philanthropies to further advance this ambitious initiative to eliminate river blindness and lymphatic filariasis. Thirdly, $22 million from the generosity and trust of 1,366 unique donors, further strengthening our wider NTD portfolio. My heartfelt gratitude to each donor. With a clear vision for elimination, let us continue to work together to reach the last mile. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Titsi, for your word. Ladies and gentlemen, please show your appreciation once more for all our partners. We are so grateful for your generosity and for your commitment to ending NTDs. When we speak about progress and partnership in global health, the journey to eradicate wild poliovirus is a prime example. Here to tell us more, please join me in welcoming the Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs for Health, Dr. Maha Barakat.
Good afternoon. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests. It is my pleasure to address you this afternoon on a cause that is very dear to our hearts here in the United Arab Emirates. Polio is a disease that has haunted humanity for millennia, yet today we stand on the cusp of eradicating this debilitating disease forever. In 1988, polio paralyzed an estimated 350,000 people each year. Decades of progress, reflecting the work of thousands, has driven a 99% fall in cases. This represents millions of cases of paralysis averted and countless more lives saved. Today, polio is an endemic in just 2 countries, Pakistan and Afghanistan. And Pakistan, thanks to remarkable leadership, the tireless efforts of its frontline polio workers, and we'll hear more about that in the in the awards, and global support, Pakistan is moving ever closer to the finishing line. This progress is a celebration for us all. The United Arab Emirates has walked this journey with Pakistan in a spirit of partnership and a shared vision of creating a healthier and safer world for today and for future generations. His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed is a leading contributor to and supporter of global efforts to end polio, both through Reaching the Last Mile and the Emirates Polio campaign. The United Arab Emirates has worked hand in hand with the government of Pakistan to realize the promise of a polio-free future. From its launch in 2014, the Emirates Polio campaign has distributed more than 700 million vaccine doses to children across Pakistan. From the most remote and rural communities to cities, camps, and provinces, workers have gone door to door to ensure no child is left behind. We in the global health community know that the last mile is the longest and the hardest, and that partnership, will, and determination are needed more now than ever before. The UAE is proud to stand with Pakistan and our partners as we work to realize our vision of a world free from polio, in the recognition that polio anywhere is a threat to countries everywhere. We must all play our part, and together we can and we must end polio. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barakat, for your word. And now, please join me in welcoming Vice President, Finance and Chief Financial Officer, Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Zamer Iqbal.
Thank you. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, good afternoon. It is indeed my pleasure to represent the President of Islamic Development Bank, Dr. Muhammad Al-Jasir, who unfortunately couldn't join us due to some unforeseen circumstances. Let me start by reiterating the unwavering commitment of Islamic Development Bank in supporting our member countries in eradicating global and regional diseases. I'm joining you this afternoon to highlight our strategic long-term support to Pakistan in reaching the last mile in eradicating polio. The world has come a long way since 1988, with concerted global efforts leading to the vaccination of over 2.5 billion children, thus reducing the polio cases across the world by over 99%, leaving Afghanistan and Pakistan as the only two remaining polio-endemic countries. The war on polio is not yet over. The Islamic Development Bank has been a steadfast and committed partner to the government of Pakistan in its declared war on polio. I'm very glad to announce that the Islamic Development Bank has approved $100 million financing in its fourth phase of the polio eradication program for Pakistan in April of this year. We are working so hard in this battle as we already disbursed $60 million of this amount on 15th of November this year. This brings the total ISDB's financing to $587 million for polio eradication in Pakistan, making the bank the largest provider of finance to the National Polio Eradication Program in Pakistan. We are almost there. I urge the government of Pakistan to stay the course to eliminate the only 5 wild polio cases detected so far in 2023 by maintaining routine vaccination to reach the status of a polio-free country. At this moment, I would like to take this opportunity to salute over 335,000 vaccine healthcare workers, primarily women, the frontline heroes who risked life and limb to literally travel the last mile and vaccinate vulnerable children in every corner of the country. I would also like to thank our partners, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, UNICEF, and WHO for their steadfast commitment. Thank you so much.
The world is on the cusp of ending wild polio. Pakistan is one of just 2 countries where the virus remains endemic. But with leadership and global support, Pakistan is closing in on eradication. Pakistan's frontline polio workers, the majority of whom are women, work tirelessly to vaccinate every last child. They go house to house in remote and difficult terrain to gain the trust of communities. Global cooperation has helped Pakistan reach the finish line. United, we can cross it and end polio for good.
What a motivating message, isn't it? Please join me in welcoming to the stage UNICEF's Deputy Executive Director for Partnerships, Kitty van der Heijden.
Thank you. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, colleagues, and friends. I'm addressing you today on behalf of our Executive Director, Kathy Russell, who, as you know, is unable to be here for medical reasons. But it's on her behalf that I'm so grateful to acknowledge the leadership and the vision of the United Arab Emirates, and particularly of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, in ending the fight in fighting towards the end of polio and the other deadly diseases. And I'm also deeply grateful for the generous and sustained support by the Islamic Development Bank to polio eradication efforts in Pakistan. Over 2.5 billion children have been vaccinated against polio. And the eradication of this ancient disease is finally within reach, thanks to the collective and unwavering commitment and support of the governments of our donors and our partners globally. Now, currently, our strong effort is in closing the polio virus gap with a razor-sharp focus on Afghanistan and Pakistan, and of that handful of countries that still have some of the highest number of unvaccinated children, and from where polio continues to spread. UNICEF's top priority is ensuring that all countries have adequate quantities of polio vaccines, and ladies and gentlemen, that is over 1 billion of doses annually. But it is not enough, because we cannot end polio unless vaccines become vaccinated children. And it's the tireless work, the efforts of thousands of community health workers, of mobilizers, the majority of them being women, in engaging community, parents, and caregivers to build trust in vaccines that is critical to the effort. A community health workforce is key to strengthening primary health care. It saves lives, it brings equity and access. And UNICEF recently launched the Community Health Delivery Partnership at the World Health Summit in Berlin, together with USAID and WHO and other partners. And as we get closer to the finish line for polio, we hope to better align our investments to sustain the gains and to scale them up for other health initiatives, especially to strengthen essential immunizations to reach zero-dose children and pandemic preparedness and response. This will also help the world to sustain a polio-free world post-certification. But in the context of the climate crisis, polio eradication efforts have not been spared by climate-related disasters, heat waves, floods, droughts, storms. They are all worsening the water, sanitation, and hygiene conditions in affected communities. They are disrupting our immunization services. And we have seen what has happened in Pakistan. Millions of children in need of assistance and at high risk of deadly diseases and malnutrition. While the disaster set back vaccination efforts by years, the polio teams, including the community health workers on the ground, immediately responded to the crisis. And that demonstrates just how polio assets can help build resilience against future threats, including climate crisis and pandemics. With the urgent support and the commitments of all of you here, governments, donors, and partners, and with the similar boldness and courage of the health workers that go about their work every day, we can, we must, and we will eradicate poverty in the next few years before climate change makes this historic feat impossible. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty van der Hajda. And now, please join me in welcoming the Federal Minister of Health for Pakistan, Dr. Nadeem Jan.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Your Highnesses, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon. First of all, we would like to extend our deepest appreciation to His Royal Highness, his entire government machinery, the people of UAE, and all stakeholders for a historic summit. Secondly, I would like to extend our gratitude to Islamic Development Bank, the government of UAE, and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for supporting our polio cause. We received pledges, we heard pledges, now it's our turn. We pledge that we will repay the principal amount to Islamic Development Bank. Of course, the interest has been gratefully brought down by BMGF. We also pledge that we will ensure that each cent of this money is most cost-effectively utilized towards the intended objective, that's a polio-free Pakistan. We also pledge that this level of commitment, will, and determination would be sustained in Pakistan for a polio-free Pakistan, regardless of circumstantial challenges and events. We also pledge that we would leverage the polio investment and resources towards the gains of a bigger health security agenda in Pakistan. We have got a charter, we have got a determination, and we have a vision and a strategy. And the strategy is underpinned by 4 I's. The first I is inclusiveness. The second I is integration. The third I is innovation. And the fourth I stands for investment-sensitive operations. We believe that with all this, we would not only reach the last mile, but we would exceed the last mile. Together, we can, and together, we must, for a healthier planet. I thank you all.
Thank you, Nadeem John. As you have seen and heard today, community health workers are the first responders of global health. They are a vital link for those in last-mile communities, and our shared goal of health for all is impossible without them. This next film and our subsequent speakers will further show you why. Please welcome Nobel laureate and former president of Liberia, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and executive director of the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, Tuberculosis, and Malaria, Peter Sands.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, we are honored by your presence and grateful that you could be here. Throughout my life, and especially as President of Liberia, I have seen the destructive darkness that diseases outbreaks can bring to a country. I have also witnessed the reviving light that community health workers can bring to a devastated nation. I personally saw brave women, poorly paid, unprepared, unrecognized, go into communities to be able to identify symptoms and to administer medical care to those affected or needed assistance. This is why in 2022, I launched with others the Africa Frontline First, a collaborative initiative to support the pivotal role community health workers play in public health. Most of you know that this workforce, which is 70% women, needs fair wages, dedicated supervision, digitally enabled training, and consistent access to supplies and tools, not only to deliver life-saving care to those who need it, but in the most to prevent outbreaks of diseases. Last year, Africa Frontline First, and the Global Fund mobilized $100 million via a catalytic fund hosted by the Global Fund, with $25 million total investment from the Skoll and Johnson & Johnson foundations, for which we remain very grateful. This year, in partnership with the Africa CDC, we set our sights higher to unravel the knots of fragmented financing and bring together the wider coalition of funders and partners behind country agendas for improved healthcare. I agree with Dr. Kaseya, Director General of the Africa CDC, when he calls for one plan, one budget, and one monitoring and evaluation. Today, on behalf of Africa CDC, Africa Frontline First, and our partners, both old and new, I want to share our renewed commitment to health for all in Africa. Our work continues to be guided by the African Union's commitment to recruit 2 million community healthcare workers, Africa CDC, new public health order, and the Monrovia call to action. Today, we are proud to announce that as a group, we will invest in a collective and coordinated manner, affirm government's leadership role in setting health priorities, advocate for public changes that have at its core highly trained and paid professional community health workers. I'm joined in this announcement by the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Africa, in fact, Africa CDC, Africa Frontline First, a Children's Investment Fund Foundation, Elma Philanthropies, the Global Fund, the Johnson & Johnson Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Skoll Foundation, the U.S. President Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, the U.S. President's Malaria Initiative, U.S. Agency for International Development, and the United Nations Children's Fund. We hope that our unified approach will be a new dawn for countries, health systems, and community health workers. I invite you all to join our efforts to bring quality health services to all of our citizens, regardless of where they may be. This is the time to act boldly, innovate, and to serve so as to prevent the next pandemic by supporting and equipping those at the front lines of curing the sick, preventing outbreaks, and the surveillance of diseases. I thank you once again, and now invite Peter Sands to make his remarks. Peter, please.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, distinguished guests, colleagues, and friends, President Sirleaf is an inspiration. She's also a somewhat daunting person to share the stage with and has articulated the case for investment in community health workers far better than I ever could. I would only note, I think it's worth noting on a day where we're marking the first Health Day at COP, due to the leadership of the UAE, that when a small child or a pregnant woman struck by fever because of malaria, one of the most climate-sensitive diseases, needs prompt testing and being put on treatment quickly, because that's how you avoid severe disease and death, most often it is a community health worker that is providing that test and treatment. Community health workers have been and are the unsung heroes of the remarkable progress that we've made against HIV, TB, and malaria, but also NTDs, and also polio, and many other conditions. And yet, far too often, they lack the resources they need. They, as President Sirleaf said, they need to be paid, trained, equipped, integrated into the broader health system. And we are seeing more countries recognize the power of strengthening and scaling their community health worker networks. Countries such as Liberia, Malawi, Tanzania, Kenya, Indonesia are amongst those that are investing more. Pakistan, which we talked about in the context of polio, is also one of the countries in the world with one of the highest tuberculosis burdens. And Pakistan has put in place one of the largest community health worker programs in the world, the Lady Health Worker Program, which trains female community health workers to find people with undiagnosed TB. Over a single year, working in remote places and with marginalized communities, these community health workers found 17% more people with TB and linked them to treatment more effectively and faster than ever before. But really, to save lives and to deliver on the SDG 3 promise of health and well-being for all, we must scale, strengthen, and sustain community health worker networks in many more countries. As the Global Fund, and thanks to the generosity of our donors, we are thrilled to be playing a role in accelerating this effort. In total, and including the 100 million through the Catalytic Fund in partnership with the Africa Frontline First, we will invest over $900 million to support community health workers over the next 3 years. We will do this working with Africa Frontline First, Africa CDC, and a whole range of other partners, many of which were mentioned by President Sirleaf. Employing, empowering, and equipping community health workers is one of the most concrete and cost-effective ways we can actually reach the last mile. It's a very smart thing to do, it's the right thing to do, and I'm proud that we are playing our part in helping make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter Sands. The announcements here today on the stage at COP28 show the optimism, the momentum, and the will there is for concrete action to solve urgent climate and health challenges. By harnessing this, we can build a healthier world for today and for generations to come.
That's the one.
A dedication. This story is for children whose futures have been stolen by malaria. Chapter 1, The Perfect Storm. An angry sun, erratic skies, cyclones, floods of a cosmic size, thirsty land, falling trees. The perfect storm for spreading disease. Capítulo 2. Lar destruído. A seguir ao ciclone, eu e a minha irmã adoecemos. Quando chegamos ao hospital e vimos tantos doentes como nós, a mãe não queria acreditar no que via. Disse, chegou a malária. And that's just one story.
हमारे घर के साथ-साथ तमाम गांव पानी में डूब गया था। हर तरफ पानी ही पानी था और रात होते ही हर जगह मच्छरों के झुंड उमड़ आए थे।
And there are millions more stories like this one. The mission to reach zero malaria is getting harder. Changing weather, health emergencies, and other threats are creating the perfect storm for deadly diseases like malaria.
It can't end like this.
If we act now to protect ourselves from threats to our lives, land, and planet, we can change the story for millions of children all over the world.
It's time to change the story. Will you?
Your Royal Highnesses, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Please raise your hand if you have children or grandchildren. Thank you. My name is Leone, and I'm from Kenya. Thank you very much for having me here today to speak from the experience of the youth. It is a pleasure to be here in Dubai, my first COP at the Reaching the Last Mile Forum. I am 13, and I expect to see the year 2100. When we talk about 1.5 degrees of warming, this isn't something I can push to the back of my mind. It is a story that feels like it is fast being written for my generation. Climate change's impact on health is here already. From wildfires in Australia, to droughts in East Africa, to Cyclone Freddy on the south of my continent. The list just goes on. Those who will be hit the hardest are the communities in lower income countries like my own. The young ones, those still to be born, did the least to contribute to it. The climate crisis can feel so vast and complex, but it is the impact on human health where we can understand it most easily. The film you saw before I came on stage tells stories of how malaria is being impacted by changing climate and extreme weather events. The same story is being written for many communities across many diseases. This is no longer something abstract happening far away. It is something putting people's lives at risk now. The price of mitigating and adapting to climate change seems huge. We look at each other and ask, how can we afford to change? But the question I want to ask you is, how can we afford not to? I want a future where I can finish school, get a job, and help make people's lives better. But if I am sick from diseases that could have been prevented or should never have even reached me, I may not be able to do any of these things. I am 13, and I expect to see the year 2100. I want to be able to tell future generations that I stood here today and that the people in the audience with power took action to change a story that faces me and billions of young people around the world. I have my voice, and I will use it tirelessly, from the first day when I was 4 years old to when I'm older. But we must act quickly, and you have the levers of change in your hands. My message is simple. Please use them. Thank you.
Thank you, Eliane. Those were very powerful words. We've now come to the final element of our event. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the Recognizing Excellence Around Champions of Health, or the REACH Awards. Through the REACH Awards, we have the distinct honor of celebrating heroes in disease elimination, from frontline innovators to local community health workers. These individuals represent the beating heart of global health system, and progress against last-mile diseases is impossible without them. The 9 leaders who comprise this year's esteemed jury panel, from global health experts to recognized philanthropists, are leading voices in the fields of health and climate. They had the near impossible challenge of selecting this year's awardees from a group of 15 inspiring health champions. I would like to invite Dr. Maha Barakat, Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs for Health, as the REACH Awards awarding party. Our first award this afternoon is for Climate Health Action. This award honors those on the front lines making extraordinary efforts to tackle climate-related health challenges. And the nominees are Dr. Teofredo Esguera, a dedicated emergency responder from the Philippines; Ibrahim Tufani, an innovative humanitarian and data expert from Libya; and Dr. Alia Haidar, a climate justice and human rights advocate from Pakistan. The recipient of the Climate Health Award is Dr. Alia Haidar. Dr. Alia Haidar is a leading health and climate advocate from humanitarian from Pakistan. She organized and led frontline teams during Pakistan's devastating floods in 2022 and has driven vital research on water contamination and lead poisoning in Lahore, which brought much-needed attention to the impact of these threats to human health. Today, she continues to organize free medical camps in underserved and marginalized communities, including leading the recently launched Kalk Health Clinics. Our next award this afternoon is the Frontline Exemplar Award, which recognizes those who demonstrated remarkable courage and dedication to keep others safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. The nominees are Gifty Atampagberi, a leading frontline nurse from Ghana; Daniel Kamimia, a dedicated last-mile emergency driver from Kenya; and Sayed Latif, a determined community health worker from Pakistan. And the recipient of the Frontline Exemplar Award is Daniel Kamima. Mr. Kamimia has served as a driver at Amref Health Africa for 15 years, providing a vital bridge between essential health services and the most difficult-to-reach communities. He played a critical role in Kenya's COVID-19 response, setting up the first mobile vaccination clinic truck, launched by Amref Health Africa in partnership with the Ministry of Health and AstraZeneca. Together, they brought vaccines closer to those living in remote rural communities, exemplifying what it means to reach the last mile. Since this effort began, he has traveled across Kenya, Rwanda, and Zanzibar, covering nearly 32,000 kilometers. And now, the Unsung Hero Award recognizes individuals who have played a transformative role in the field of disease elimination and have been under-recognized for their efforts. The nominees are Ying Chang, a lifelong champion of malaria elimination from Cambodia; Dr. Marie-Rosaline Darnica Beliezer, a frontline hero responding to disease outbreaks worldwide from Haiti; and Sana Malik, a committed young polio worker from Pakistan. And the recipient of the Unsung Hero Award is Ying Chang. Ying Chang has devoted 7 decades of his life to fighting malaria in dengue in Cambodia. Early in his career, he helped initiate the first malaria eradication pilot project in eastern Cambodia. After the Khmer Rouge came into power, he survived captivity, deportation, famine, and forced labor, and went on to re-establish the National Malaria Control Program along with 12 other survivors. He later established the country's first insecticide treating mosquito net program and its national dengue control program. After decades of focused effort, Ying's leadership has helped bring Cambodia to the brink of malaria elimination. Thank you. I'm sorry, I cannot help not to cry when all this amazing work is happening. The next award is the Game-Changing Innovator Award. It champions visionaries who drive impactful change by pushing boundaries, the extraordinary innovators making a difference in global health. The nominees are Dr. Chris Chanhapi, a leader in outbreak response and surveillance from Cameroon; Dr. Atul Shah, a pioneer in leprosy care from India; and Dr. Theophile Hure Owachu, a champion of digital health tools from Rwanda. And the recipient of the Game-Changing Innovator Award is Dr. Atul Shah. Dr. Shah has driven the development of critical new tools and techniques to offer holistic care to people affected by leprosy. He is particularly celebrated for developing a self-care kit, which has been used in over 80,000 cases to support the dressing and care of ulcers, reducing the need for costly travel to health clinics. He has also designed simple surgical tools and techniques to support the delivery of care to people in marginalized communities across India. These tools and techniques have now been integrated into India's national leprosy program and are widely used in care. Next, the Rising Champion Award, a tribute to those who embody resilience, driving us towards a healthier future for all of us. The nominees are Whitney Wanjuku Mwangi, a passionate youth advocate for malaria elimination from Kenya; Odinaka Kingsley Obita, an emerging leader for malaria elimination from Nigeria, and Dr. Maha Rahman, a prominent health rights advocate from Pakistan. The recipient of the Rising Champion Award is Whitney Wanjuku Mwangi. Ms. Mwangi is an author and a dedicated advocate for youth leadership and engagement to eliminate malaria across the African continent. As the East Africa co-led for the African Leaders Malaria Alliance Youth Advisory Council, she led the conceptualization and launch of the first policy guide for malaria dialogue for African youth. In addition to her leadership on malaria, Mwangi founded Storybook Africa, an advocacy initiative that uses storytelling to empower African youth to make informed decisions about their health and development. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached our final award. The Lifetime Achievement Award honors an individual whose dedication, vision, and tireless efforts have left an indelible mark on the landscape of global health. This award pays homage to an individual whose lifelong commitment has contributed significantly to fight against preventable diseases and towards health for all. It is a tribute to someone who has transformed lives in the pursuit of a more equitable world. The Lifetime Achievement Award goes to former President of Liberia and member of the Elders, Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. As Africa's first elected female head of state, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf has emerged as a transformative leader in post-Civil War in Liberia, a Nobel Peace Laureate. She is a voice of peace and justice and an advocate for health for all. As President of Liberia, she spearheaded significant reforms in the national healthcare system, establishing the country's first community health worker initiative, which serves more than 4,000 communities in the most remote areas. She also led the nation through the 2014 West Africa Ebola outbreak. And she continues to fight for sustainable and substantial improvements in healthcare delivery, helping establish the Africa Frontline First initiative, which aims to scale a robust community health workforce across Africa. Please join me in celebrating Her Excellency Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations to all today's award recipients and nominees. Your stories inspire us all, and your dedication exemplifies the spirit of reaching the last mile. Your Excellencies and distinguished guests, as we end the 2023 Reaching the Last Mile Forum, I would like to thank each and every one of you here, and especially our speakers. Thank you for your enthusiasm and unwavering commitment to the health of our world. They have shone a light on critical health issues while highlighting the change necessary to make a difference. We have celebrated progress and made a vital shared commitment that will help deliver a brighter and healthier future for all of us. Thank you, and I wish you a very safe onward journey.